Hi, today you find me here in the Atlas station and I'm playing on my Omega save, and the reason for that is because I want to have a look at the Mark of Denier, which is a new technology that was released in Omega. It didn't get an awful lot of press because, I mean, it was in the patch notes, but most people that have a mature save that play the game a lot have not really been talking about it because they're not likely to see it unless they start a new save. And of course, if like me you continue with your Omega save after it finishes, and this is specifically if you started a new save, then you'll get this when you go through the Atlas path. So we'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a minute, but first of all let's have a look at the technology. So here it is in my inventory. I have it in as a technology slot, Mark of the Denier, priceless fragment, a tiny mote of stardust no more than a speck. On closer examination, its surface is all crystalline shards and distorted crimson geometry. It flickers with pent-up energy demanding to be free. Empower the mark as you discover systems, planets, and objects across the universe. And as you can see, it says that it has energy 0%. If I click A for charge on here, on my Xbox controller that I use on my PC, then we can see it says power it with nanite clusters, which is not quite what it said a minute ago. You can't really get nanite clusters specifically, but it's things that you get nanite clusters for that will power it. I'm pretty sure if I was to grind something up, let's just grind up something. So if we refine and then put that in our exosuit, no, it doesn't do anything, and obviously the nanite clusters don't come into our inventory. So the only way to power it up is to do what it says in our log. Now it's interesting, in the log we started to see this Atlas Eternal for those of us on mature saves that had already completed the Atlas path. I've completed the Atlas path here, and I have a feeling this might be a bug. We've got two, which is fine because they're different, but I suspect one of them is supposed to be a different name, and I also wonder if we're only supposed to see one and this one isn't supposed to be visible, because I've denied the Atlas and I've got the Mark of the Denier, and I would have thought that if you accepted the Atlas then you would get this one instead, which is where you present wonders to the Atlas interface, which a few people have covered. Basically you'd go up to the Atlas station and present a wonder and you would get some nanites for it. So as it says here, empower the Mark of the Denier by discovering objects across the universe, and as you can see it's on the bottom right hand corner. I've increased the size of my HUD. So the first thing I'm going to do is pop down to a planet and start discovering things. Now I've deliberately increased the size of my HUD so we can keep an eye on it even if you're watching on a small screen. So we have a planet we've never discovered before, so let's go down there. Now theoretically, just landing and putting foot on the planet will give me a discovery. So if we now use the left button on, it should cycle through, and there we are. The Mark of the Denier has a 5% mark. So we've discovered a planet, we now have 5%. And if we discover something else, it goes to 10%. And it can be anything. So what are we on now? 30%. So as you can see, it's very quick and easy to accumulate. We just need to find a few more things that we haven't scanned. It's actually quite a nice planet here. Got that one. We have a couple of different hazardous flora. Might be something down here. Maybe not. There's a few creatures around. I think this might be a purely flying planet. I spotted some sodium, that's scannable. Now it says show the empowered mark to the Atlas. So pop back to my ship. Now, I've already been to this Atlas station, so it probably will tell me to take it to another one. Locate another Atlas interface, access the galaxy map. So we go to the galaxy map. There it's located an Atlas station. We can go straight to it. So we take it to an Atlas terminal with that particular milestone in our log. And you can see it here, it gives us an inkling about what's gone on. I'll go into that in a little while, how I got here in the first place. But I can discharge the mark. Now it gives you an Atlas word as well, which I think is quite interesting. And it gave me 602 nanites. So as you can see, this is actually quite a handy piece of technology for accumulating nanites. Although the other Atlas Eternal thing, I don't think I'll be able to activate it in here too. Nope, because I've used it now. That one gives you nanites just for wonders. So wonders are even easier to accumulate because a wonder can be anything that you've discovered in your normal discovery catalogue. If we go into our wonders, anything new on here would immediately be would count, and then also anything in your personal records. So you could just keep swapping out your personal records and coming back for that one. Now, as I said, I think this might be a bug that they're both available. I don't think they should both be here. It feels to me like it's one or the other. You've either accepted the Atlas or denied the Atlas. And I would have thought that denying the Atlas would be more about maybe aligning yourself further with the Void. I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to wait and see what happens when the Void Mother storyline finishes. But that's kind of my hunch, that you have one or the other, and your save would be aligned one way or the other. So how exactly did I get the mark of the Denier in the first place? Well, let's take a look at the footage I took earlier on when I was actually running the mission. So the first thing to note, if we come straight to an Atlas station after we've finished the Omega expedition, then we will get this basic message. As you can see, I haven't got many Atlas words at the moment, so I'm not 100% sure what they're saying. There is nothing else but the orb. We are alone in the universe. It fills my mind. I am consumed. And that's all we really get. We can't do anything with the Atlas at that stage. And this is because the Atlas path doesn't actually kick in until we've at least initiated the Awakenings storyline. So you can see Awakenings is started, but we have to get past that very initial Awakenings part of the storyline. And that involves finding Artemis's ship. So first of all, we'll be doing that. Now, I strayed far from the path, so I'm going to restart missions using nearby structures. The only thing that I've had happen before this is Artemis contacting me on the radio, and now I'm going to just reset it, and it should give me a location of their ship, which we can see up to the left there. So let's go to that location first. Now, it's an approximate location, but let's see if we can fly around and find it. Ah, there we are. It popped straight away. So let's land there. And in order to progress the mission, all we really need to do is access that comm thing. Signal beacon. And then we can continue from there. You can, of course, claim the ship, which is useful when you first find them, because usually you find this quite early on in your save, and a new ship that you can repair and get some cash for is quite handy. I made a whole video about finding ships and whether or not they're profitable and how to make the maximum profit out of them if you want to look at that. Now all that remains is to return to space, and we should get an immediate incoming message. So we go through the basic interaction with Artemis, and then we should be able to go to the Atlas path now. It's popped up in our list and we can go to it. And the next stage is to find an Atlas station. Now obviously I was already at an Atlas station, so we can go there to start with. Now the way the Atlas path works is you're talking to the Atlas, and the idea is you also gain a lot of Atlas words as you're going along so that you can understand him. Now you can't really understand him as you're going along because you just don't have enough words, and we have to clear off the little glowing blobs here to get words. And each time you go to an Atlas station you get more and more of these as words, but they don't all give words. Now what I tried to do before I started was visit a load of Atlas stations before the path had actually begun. It didn't really work out very well. There's always two you can get, the one on the path and the one opposite the path on the other side of the landing pads. Apart from that, none of the others were working, but going to hundreds of Atlas stations, or at least I think it would probably be over 70 Atlas stations in order to get all of the words, was a little bit tedious, so I haven't bothered to do that, and I'm just going to run around and get a few. There are two other sources of Atlas words that I can think of off the top of my head. You can get an Atlas word each time you go to a monolith and correctly answer the question, and you can get an Atlas word from a visitation from the Atlas, I think it's called Space Encounter. Even if you find a system that has an immediately spawning visitation of the Atlas, that means reloading, I think it's about 150 times, and alternatively you can visit 150 odd monoliths. In the end, the best solution for actually knowing what the Atlas said all the way along the Atlas path is to just carry on with your save, and then much later on you can go back and look in the lore and you can find exactly what the atlas says there, and you can read it at your leisure knowing all of the words. Now, the next part of this video will technically spoil the atlas path because I'm going to start talking about it in a little bit more detail. So if you don't want to be spoiled, I've put a chapter called Claiming the Mark further along in the video. I'll also stop talking for a bit so you can do that. So let's start with an overview of the Atlas path. So here we are at the beginning of the Atlas path, and the very first thing the Atlas says to us is, "You dare the infinite, open the sky and be our eyes. Know us, traveller." The deeper lore of No Man's Sky suggests that the Atlas put the travellers there, and we are a traveller, to see the universe, to see it for him. He's created the algorithm a bit like Hello Games create the algorithm for us. It's kind of saying, go out there and look at everything and see what's there for me, the Atlas. Know us, traveller, presumably means know who I am, know what I am. I am this huge algorithm, this AI that is creating everything, and you will only know me through exploration. So for the remainder of the Atlas path, we basically have to visit him over and over again, and each time he gives us a blueprint for an Atlas seed, and each time we build an Atlas seed we can then progress to the next one. You theoretically can visit more than one at a time and build the Atlas seeds as you go along later, but essentially you have to build 10 Atlas seeds, including the Heart of the Sun, which is the very last one. And it's kind of an introduction to the universe in that it tries to make you go to each of the different coloured systems. You have to pick up each of the solar metals, and therefore you're forced to warp to each of the different colour systems as you're going along. And there are a few other things like making sure you have some magnetised ferrite, and what I did was use the Assistant for No Man's Sky app, and I just gathered everything beforehand, or I refined it. So I was able to build each seed as and when I got the blueprint, and I could immediately go to the next Atlas station. The other thing that can slow it down is that each time you are asked to accept the next stage, you have to be at a certain milestone. Now those are normal milestones that you just progress as you go along, that you see flashing up on your screen. The same milestones that you can cash in for nanites at the anomaly. And they're not that hard to progress because it's a reasonably early quest. The advantage of doing this with an expedition save is that you often already have a lot of milestones. In fact, I don't think I needed to push any more milestones in the journey while I was just focusing on the Atlas path and just literally going from Atlas station to Atlas station, building each thing and then moving to the next one. So I don't think it's a very high milestone requirement, but for an early save it acts as a kind of a time gate. So let's skip to the final interface and see what happens that's divergent from the normal one. So here we are at the final interface, about to see the Atlas for the last time in this path. And as I say, it's about 10 seeds, and we've already built the Heart of the Sun, and then it sends you to the next one, which is this final interface. And as you can see, the Atlas isn't present, and we can walk through where the Atlas usually was. And as we walk along this path, you can see some plinths coming up, and what we do is we activate each one in turn. Now it acts as if we're putting the individual Atlas seeds into them, but obviously we don't have those in our inventory, we just have the last one. But in each one it's got the name of that Atlas seed, and we activate them as we go along around this circle. And above us we get these lines pointing up, It's probably worth talking about what's going on above us, because the Atlas stations are kind of transparent above us, so we can see almost like an Atlas shape. I'll see if I can move out from the middle in a minute. Can't really see it very clearly, but you can just about see there's like a pyramid shape there. So what we're doing is we're kind of creating a number of lines pointing upwards, which will then form like a platform for creating a system, a star, which is where the heart of the sun comes in. I don't think the blueprint seeds are related to the individual bits of the story, but I might be wrong. I think they're relatively just a list of made-up names that they thought were cool. Okay, so now we've put all of the seeds into the plinths, and we've got these things projecting upwards. We go to the last one, and we actually get a little bit of dialogue. And basically it's saying that we're going to forge a world, and throughout the rest of the Atlas path, we have basically been discovering that the Atlas is a bit mad, and to some extent you kind of start to empathize with him. But at this stage, you're basically being asked to become a creator like him. And usually you would click Birth a Star, but you can walk away. And now, if we walk away, we get this new Mark of the Denier. And we also get a new title. So if we deny the Atlas, it gives us a chance to rethink, because obviously we wouldn't want to deny the Atlas. And there we get the Mark of the Denier. It's relatively simple to build. Those resources aren't that hard to get. What I found a little bit strange was that it wasn't immediately obvious what you were supposed to do. It didn't seem to come up as a normal blueprint. It turned out we needed to select the relevant Atlas Eternal quest, and then it pops up and says build it here, and you can just build it straight away as a blueprint, even though it wasn't in my normal blueprint list. What I haven't done yet is complete the Artemis path on this particular save, so I don't know if it has the same adjacency with Remembrance. If we accept the Atlas, then we theoretically would still get the Star Seed, but I haven't tested that, and that does have an adjacency with Remembrance. The adjacency was never that great. I assume it will still be the same with this new one, but the adjacency basically gave you 1 extra core health. So the Star Seed would give you 1 core health, Remembrance would give you 1 core health, and then the adjacency would give you an extra 1. We don't really need that extra core health. There's loads of other things that give us core health, but I suppose if you did it early on in your save, then that's going to be a help. The main benefit of the Star Seed used to be that we could see the main benefit of the Star Seed used to be that we could see black holes in the galaxy map. That's no longer even a perk now, because we can always see black holes in the galaxy map right from the beginning of our save as of the Omega update. Another thing that doesn't quite seem polished with the Mark of the Denier is that there's no icon. It's just a plain white box when you package it up. Maybe we're not supposed to be able to package up, I don't know, but we can, but it just comes up as white. Also, the core health. If we look at our core health, those are the little pluses on the top underneath the shield bar. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 there. And so if we remove the mark of the Denier, we still have 7. And so that means that it's not like the Star Seed in that respect either, because the Star Seed gave us 1 extra core health, and it had an adjacency with the Remembrance. So that could give you up to 3 core health. Now, it isn't exactly a big thing, because there are loads of ways of getting core health in the game, and it's quite a trivial bonus. But it seems strange that that's not there. It's almost like that's an oversight as well. Lastly, if we do deny the Atlas, then we get a new title, Defier of Creation, which, I mean, for those of us that collect all of the titles, that's quite nice. But obviously, if you've already done the Atlas path and not denied it, then you'd need to do it again in another save in order to get that title, even though you'd then be able to see the title in all of your saves. So there you have it, how to get the Mark of the Denier, what it's used for, and how the end of the Atlas path works. I don't know if this is going to be part of the longer narrative with the Void Mother, we'll have to wait and see. But until then, goodbye for now, and travel well. Goodbye.